that you have to push, receive, push back, receive, push back. You have to become two different people with two different motivations that are in opposition to each other. If that is not clean and clear, we check out of the solo show. We completely check out, right? That's why solo work has to be grounded in the clarity of the narrative. Nothing else matters. So before you, I mean, I worked with Justine on her solo show, and I worked with Juan Francisco Villa, and they had these ideas about what they wanted, and I was like, I don't want to hear no songs. I don't want to hear no slide. I don't want to see no slides. What is the story? What happened in your abuela's kitchen? And he was like, yeah, but then everything around, I was like, come back to abuela's kitchen. Sit down at the table and tell me what she said, and then tell me what you did. And then ultimately he was like, we never did any of the other elements that later became a part of the show. No sound effects, no, you don't need that. Because one, on a practical level, if you have a solo show, the way to make money off of a solo show is to not have all that shit. The way to make money off of a solo show is be able to walk in a room and start talking and do a show and people are excited. Spalding Gray just sat at a table. If you saw Mike Daisy's solo show at Town Hall about Trump, it was compelling. He just sat at a table. That's it. That's it. It has to happen in the story. Justine's solo show, The Iron Butterfly, now has singing and all these other things in it. I never worked on that. She's like, you don't want to see that? I was like, I want to see the lyrics to see if they're telling the same story. That's it. It's the narrative. It's the script. It's the script. Is it structurally sound? Are the characters well developed and complicated? Is the problem, the conflict in each scene clear? And is the conflict building as you go from scene to scene so that by the first act, we have a point of no return where the protagonist is going to proceed forward or fail? Structure, 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 structure. You're not in the writing class yet, Simone, so you don't know about the outline yet, which would also just complicate this. But I guess the long and short of it is, if you have a residency, focus on the words. Focus on making parts of the script stand alone with just the words. You can add the other shit later. And some you may want. I mean, when my solo show finally got to, you know, the stage, the director did want slides. Some people hated it, some people liked it. I didn't care, because I was about the story. I was about the story. Can you take me to this place? And I can take you to this place by stepping to the right, leaning on the kitchen counter. Listen, if you're married, if you don't marry a white woman, you don't have to kill a white woman like OJ. You're in my grandmother's kitchen, right? Because she has a gesture. She has her voice comes from a certain place. It comes from being on the island in the heat, working in her garden. She never did too much, like, you know. And my mother's a jazz singer. And we're immediately in her kitchen because she has caftans and she sings jazz, right? Like, you're immediately taken to where that person is from because the clarity of who they are is in you and your storytelling. You don't need no shit like that. Usually when I see all them tricks and it's a pretty set and shit, I say, oh, she can't really act. So she want me to pay attention to all the, you know, the merchant ivory background, right? But I'm not going to stay in it. And I go in and out of shows like that. I'm not going to stay in it if the narrative is not clear structurally. And when I say narrative, I mean character, subconscious motivations, ultimate fears and goals, life lesson this person is learning. And you have to organize that in a way that allows your audience in. So you have 20 minutes. I'm going to tell you what my 20 minutes was. It was the first 3 pages of my script. It's what you see on the YouTube video of my TED Talk. It's just the first monologue. It's one monologue. So that's my first recommendation. Pick one monologue, just one scene. I don't care if it's 8 minutes long. Pick one that's tightly written and working. No bells, no whistles, nothing. It's all dependent on how well you perform that story, how clear it is, how clear the writing is. So move all that other shit out of the way. Natasha's not here. She did the similar thing. Her thesis was what we were working on. She was like, I have to have an hour plan. I was like, no, you just need 5 good pages. And what I did learn is that I actually had to truncate those 5 good pages to make it a narrative that stood on its own, like its own little mini play. So I'm going to recommend a couple of things. I'm going to recommend that you go and watch Whoopi's show. The first one, not the second one, the first one. And I want you to take each one of her monologues, the old reason, I love that. And I want you to tell me about story structure. Look at it. What's the problem? What's the second problem? What's the second thing she does to get past that problem? What new problem does that create? Bop, bop, bop. Do a little outline. It should be, 5 points. Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each monologue. And just look at that structure. It's really clean and clear. Really clean and clear. 5 pages. And then have a coaching session with me. Does that answer all your questions? Residency. So good. Keep it clean and simple. No bells and whistles. And your director is like, interpretive dance. He's like, but that's not what we got right now. What's the story? It's 20 minutes. People got to be able to come and see it. You ain't going to be able to have interpretive dance. And if you do, I'm like, what are you at the Classical Theater of Harlem doing? No. We don't need Indo-Mediterranean, African yoga, breathing, fire dance, which is essentially what Classical Theater of Harlem. I was like, where's the music from? It's Persian. Okay, but where's this outfit from? Well, that's Ghanaian cloth, but then the background is this gauzy cloth from India. I was like, well, what are we doing? It was like, and now we're gonna have yoga, but it's gonna be, trans something from Indonesia. I was like, okay, what's the story? I understand all those elements. I was like, so when the story is a hot mess and we don't know how the woman got from falling in love to killing him, so all you do is put some dance numbers in? No. And that's actually what it was. It was like, I love you. He's like, I'm done with you. And now we're gonna have a dance. Okay, now we have a drummer. Okay, what's this guy? That guy has a lute. Where does the lute come from? It's a Scottish influence. I was like, oh my God, what is the story? It was very fun to look at. I was like, what's the story? And that's what residencies are looking for. What's the story? Okay, KISS. Morning pages. This is Barbara. Barbara just joined this scary community. Barbara, you want to introduce yourself?
All. Barbara's lost. Barbara's has to get the reins on this one together, but yes. Hi, all.
Barbara and I went to high school together. Shut up!
Goodness. Hey, nice.
It's just the other day.
Yeah, just the other day. Somebody actually posted something like that today. I was like, that couldn't have been more than a decade, darling. I don't need you posting that shit. I was like, don't be commenting on my post with years and shit. Well, you want to go to reunion? No. I was sitting around with a bunch of old people looking at their hairlines and how fat they are. I mean,
luckily the fashions are coming back, so we're starting to look timeless again.
They
got the old pictures. They got the old pictures.
All I know is all the people that I'm in touch with are still cute, and the people I'm not in touch with are not cute. And you can't recognize them when they friend you on Facebook. I'm not a horrible person. I'm being a horrible.
You know what? The ones that we're not in touch with anymore weren't cute back then either.
That's true. I just blocked someone.
Like,
talk about that later.
You'll be like, block a bitch.
Well, I block a bitch, but
we come from a school where a lot of them need to be blocked.
But I was like, why is this Republican following me on Facebook? Like, he was like a militant Republican when we were in school, when we were in high school. I was afraid of him. I was like, he's like Aryan Nation. And sure enough, a bunch of them. Let me stop the recording. Cassie's question about the morning pages. Yes. So your question, Kathy, is we move to 5 pages of the morning pages after
Yes.
2 weeks instead of 3.
Yeah.
The goal is to keep writing more pages because eventually story will show up. It's like working out at the gym. The more you write, the easier it gets, the more fluid it becomes. And as you start working through the north nodes and you start writing, the reason that after you get to the nodes work, the reason that the writing turns into rants is because you are learning some very uncomfortable truths about yourself. As I said to Simone the other day, and she was like, she was going through her north nodes, and she was like, it says so many things about me, that about my focus, and I feel bad about it. I was like, look on the bright side. My north node says that I controlled and murdered people in my past life. It's all relative. Like, it's all relative. So you look at the north nodes, you read through that, and you go, okay, it said that I did this. I didn't do that. So when you come to the morning pages, you're mad about what you just read. Or you discover, oh, it's true, I let somebody totally take advantage of me. So you're mad at yourself. So you spend the morning pages fucking cussing out. But what it's doing is forcing you to face things about your psychology. And it's forcing you to think of stories from your past. It's getting all that shit out on the page, right? Lately I've been reading my North Nodes every other day. Because I was like, my life is falling apart. Wait, this is your fault. Oh, fuck. Right? So the morning pages are really fucked up. However, story is better. What I'm writing is better. It's more succinct. It's more focused. Blogs that used to be 4 pages now are a paragraph. This is the idea. Fix it. It's clarifying my writing because my thinking process about the things that I wrestle with psychologically to learn in my life, the lessons that I'm fleshing out, are ultimately what you're going to write about. It's ultimately what your characters are going to be experiencing and going through. That's why you want to tell their story, right? Because they have experienced something you are wrestling with. You can't write what you don't know. So adding the morning pages, adding pages, my hope is that eventually, the longer you do it, that you will write 15 pages and not even realize it was 15 pages. That's why the number 5 is there, right? I don't believe in goal-oriented writing. So if you need goals, I need to finish my script right now, that's why I'm taking your class. My class is not about that. My class is about using your most valuable tool, which is you, your life's journey. And as a writer, you are an observer of that journey. And your particular experience of that journey is so specific that in specificity is where we find universality. It doesn't matter that I write about a little girl in Liberty City in the projects, right? In my show. After the show, every mother comes up to me. Every father comes up to me. I want a relationship like that with my daughter. It's because it's so specific. It doesn't matter. These are nice Jewish people from Miami Beach watching the show. It doesn't matter. I always ask people, where did you check in? They're like, oh, the relationship with the little girl. She's so clear and so, right? The North Nodes forces you to get really specific about your life journey so that inherently you begin to write with that kind of specificity when you start writing stories. And if you stay with the morning pages, which then eventually go to recordings, and you just talk without an agenda, the story will emerge. The problem is that people come to my process going, I want to write about this. And I was like, if that's what you wanted to write about, you would have written about it 5 years ago. You're here with me because that has not been written. So it's time to throw away what you think you want to write and write the story that wants to be told. And the story that wants to be told is how you made it through and what you've learned along the way. That's what your emotional core is about. The true nodes, if you look at the lessons you're supposed to learn in your true nodes, you just underline them. Just underline them. Put them on a slip of paper. Put them in your dream journal and write about them. You'll be like, oh, the stories will pour out of you. They should be rants. You should be cussing and screaming. But by page 5 or 6, some story's gonna show up. Or you can turn on your recorder and start talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's to get you to write, and to get you to write a lot. I have Stephen King's On Writing on my reading list because I love what his crazy ass said. He's really crazy though. I can't read his books because I want to sleep at night. And just off the subject, for a moment, when I read Stephen King, I understand why white people are so afraid of Black people and everything else. It's just like, who sits around and thinks that kind of like
Pretty twisted.
who sits around? I was like, people sit around and think about this? I was like, it's very anxious. I was like, he's worried about the vagina coming out in a monster's mouth and swallowing him. I was like, this psychology is disturbing, but it's very telling about, I was like, whoa, these are your concerns, right? You go to Toni Morrison novel, Beloved, her concerns is my child gonna live or have to bash a child head up into a wall? It's very like, is my child gonna eat? Is my child not gonna eat? All right? It's like the psychology is, I'm gonna have to kill my husband because he's abusing my child. There's no monsters that need to come out of the closet. She just needs to kill him. The psychology is really interesting with what people concern themselves with and how they articulate it. It's the monsters come out. And I was like, oh, okay. One's not better than the other. They all end up in the same place, people killing each other. But the way that they're imagined is completely different. That's what you're getting at with the morning pages, right? I can't write characters that I don't know their souls. I can make them look like stick figures, but I can't write about their souls. I don't know what makes them work. I don't know people who profoundly need religion. I don't know how that works. I don't know people who follow the codes. And, you know, I'm never going to write a story about being at a historically Black college and pledging a Greek fraternity. I don't understand any of that. That's not, why would you do what? Okay, maybe I could go someplace where everybody looked just like me for like a year. But for me, that kind of sounds like being punished by Black people 24/7 for 4 years. And I'm like, It's like, oh, I have to fit in here because I'm Black. Whereas if I go someplace where everybody's different, I can just be me. I don't have to fit in. So I don't understand that story. I can't write stories like that. I don't understand why you would want to go there. That's not a part of my psychology. My psychology is about being who I am and that not being so revolutionary to everyone else, because my assumption is everybody is being exactly who they are all the time anyway, aren't they? Like, people are like, no. I said, what? Well, so why do you have a perm? Because that's what the women in my office wear. I said, but do you like it? No, I think it's ugly. Why are you wearing it? And it just didn't occur to me to like do what I'm supposed to do because other people are doing it. I can't write about that. That's what the North Node, that's what the personality test that you take is about. It's about understanding what your worldview is, getting deeper into that and getting okay with it. There's a reason you feel such things. It's a reason you feel different.